Alright, y'all, so this is the beginning of Unit 2, and this is where algebra genuinely, for me, I feel algebra genuinely starts. Whenever we actually start figuring out what x is y, what is z, what are all these variables, and we actually start coming up with numerical values to draw an equivalence between a variable and a number. And this is one of the coolest parts of algebra, I've always felt, is when you can actually take something that you don't know, such as a y, an x, a z, an a, b, whatever, what have you, rho, epsilon, any of those, and you're able to actually assign a numeric value and say, I know exactly what value that is, and here's how. So, to get started, okay, today is all about opposites. So, in order to solve these equations, we have to keep in mind that we're going to be using the opposites. We're going to be using the opposite of addition and the opposite of subtraction, which of course is subtraction and addition, and vice versa, right? So with that in mind, okay, our main goal is to isolate the variable. We're trying to knock everything that is around the variable away. So each of these that I'm underlining, those are variables, right? The letter. So in order to isolate that, we have to get rid of everything that's on that side of the equal sign that's not the variable that we're looking for. So in the case of number 1, we're trying to get rid of the minus 3. Okay? We're trying to get rid of the minus 3. And in order to get rid of minus 3, we have to add 3. And when we add 3 to both sides, we wind up with negative 1 equaling y. And that's the answer. Negative 1 is y. Okay? Now, we're going to do the exact same thing for our x variable here on number 2. Okay? We're going to do the opposite of whatever is like on that side. In this case, we have negative 4 plus x. And we know the opposite of minusing 4 or negative 4 is going to be plus 4. So we add a 4 to both sides of this. Okay? And that's going to make it to where we have x equals 11. Alright? And there's that. Okay? Much the same for number 3. We're going to go ahead and add 9 to both sides. And by adding 9, that is going to cancel with the 9 on the side with the x and leave us with x equaling 2. Just like that. Now, as you'll see, it doesn't say to just solve each equation. It says to check your answers. Now, in order to check your answers, it's really, really super easy, okay? And there should be no reason that you miss a problem throughout this whole unit because you have the ability to check your answers. So what we're going to do is we're going to do negative 4 equals negative 1 minus 3. Okay, that's going to be negative 4 equals negative 4. Right? That's a check. We know that works. Okay? Same thing here. Negative 4 plus 11. We're trying to make sure that equals 7. Negative 4 plus 11 is in fact 7. Now, at some point, this is going to become very trivial. Okay? Or it's going to seem like it's getting trivial, but whenever we get into the 2 and multi-step equations and stuff, you'll be happy that you're in the habit of checking your answers. Trust me. So on number 3, we're going to do negative 9 plus 2 equals negative 7. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7, and that does in fact equal 7. So that's good. On number 4, we're going to add 7 to both sides. Alright, and when we add 7 to both sides of that, that's going to leave us with going to leave us with 1.7. Alright, so x equals 1.7. Alright, and then we take that x that we just came up with and we can plug it back in there. Okay, and when we do that, we get 1.7 minus 7, that equals negative 5.3. Alright, okay, and then that does in fact equal negative 5.3, negative 5.3. Okay, and it's just a good way to check your answers. Okay, so next thing, minus 4, right? X equals 3. Alright, and then we're going to go 3 plus 4 equals 7. 3 plus 4 is indeed 7. So that's good. Alright, now, next thing, okay, we've got a, oh no, it's a fraction. Scary. So we add 1/2 to both sides. Okay? Now you don't have to leave it as just 1/2. For this one, I'd prefer to do, let's go with 2/4. That's really ugly. So we're going to add 2/4. Alright, now let's see, that's going to be x equals 5/4. Okay, and 5/4 minus 1/2 is 3/4. So that part works. There's that. Okay, moving everything up a little bit so I got more room to work. So we go ahead and on number 7, we subtract 5 from both sides. Okay, and that's going to leave me with 2 equaling x. 5 plus 2 is indeed 7, so that works. Alright, next thing we're going to do plus 10, plus 10. So x equals 22. 22 minus 10 is 12. Alright, so we minus 3/4 from both sides here. And that's going to leave us with z equals, let's see, negative 5/4 minus 3/4. That's going to be negative 8/4. Okay? That might be one that you want to check in your calculators. Okay? 3/4 plus negative 8/4, does that actually equal 5/4? And it does. So we can move on to the next problem. So we go plus 1/5 to both sides. Okay? So negative 2/5 plus 1/5 is going to be negative 1/5. Okay? And that equals m. So negative 1/5 minus 1/5 does in fact equal negative 2/5. Okay? And that's the way that that works. So there you have it. Now number 11, more fractions. Okay? So instead of adding 3/4 to both sides, I'm actually going to add 6/8 to both sides. So I add 6/8 and I add 6/8. Now, the reason being that I'm adding 6/8, 6/8 is the same thing as 3/4. Okay, it's just, it'll work better with the fact that that has a denominator of 8, and I needed a denominator of 8 in order to add to it. So, that leaves me with a equaling 7 plus 6, which is 13 over 8. Okay, and there's that. Okay, and then 13/8 minus 6/8 would be 7/8. And there you have it. So that's good. Alright, so last one in this section. So we're going to, on this one, we're going to minus 3/14 from both sides. Alright, and on this side we have 6/7. I'm actually going to change that to 12/14. All I did was multiply both top and bottom by 2, and that's 12/14. So 12/14 minus 3/14. 12 minus 3 is 9. So I'm left with 9/14 equaling C. So my answer is 9/14. And it's that simple. Alright? And move everything up. So the next little bit asks me to solve each equation for the given variable. So number 13 is asking me to solve for x. And this is one of those things where we have no actual numbers, and that's going to seem kind of odd. But all we have to do in order to get the x by itself is to subtract y, right? So we subtract y from both sides, and that's going to be x equals z minus y. And that's what it is. Alright? This one says to solve for b. Alright? So, let's see. We're going to have to subtract a from both sides on this. And that's going to leave us with negative b equals negative a plus c. Now, just as a heads up, we're left with a negative b equaling negative a plus c. Now, in order to do this, we're actually going to have to divide by -1, and we're not quite to that yet. That's tomorrow. But just as a glimpse as what we're doing, we're going to divide each side of that by -1, and it's going to leave us with b equals a minus c, and that would be our final answer. Okay? And it's that simple, alright? But that's tomorrow, so don't worry too much about that. Okay? Now, next thing, okay, number 15, it's asking us to solve that equation for b. So in order to do that, we'd have to subtract ax, and we can do that. We can subtract an entire term from each side. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to minus ax and minus ax, and that's going to leave us with b equals negative ax plus y. Alright? And there's that. So b equals negative ax plus y. And it's that simple. All I did was I picked up that whole term, subtracted it from both sides, and that's perfectly fine. Okay? Next question. Alright. This one says to solve for y. Alright? So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides, just like we did the other one, okay? We're going to move a whole term. And we're going to subtract 2x from both sides, and that's going to leave us with y equaling negative 2x plus 3. And there's that. Now, number 17 is asking us to solve for y. So we got to get the y by itself. We're trying to get that alone. Okay? So, in order to do that, we need to add 3x to both sides. Okay? And that's going to be y equals 3x plus 7. And that's pretty simple, right? Not too horrible. Okay? Now the last one for this section, it says that we need to solve for y. So we're going to solve for y. So we're trying to get this piece alone. What's there that's not supposed to be there on that side of the equal sign? Well, there's a 6. So in order to get rid of a positive 6, we subtract it. So that's going to be minus 6 from both sides. And that's going to leave us with 2x minus 6 equals y. And there it is. It's that simple. Alright. So, next section here. We got number 19. Okay. So we got 7. It says to write and solve the equation, okay? Write and solve, okay? You have to do both pieces to this. So it says 7 more than a number, okay? If you remember correctly, that means we're going to do 7 plus x, okay? Is an important word. Is means equal, okay? So 7 plus x equals 4. So, in order to solve this, we've already been over this. To get rid of a positive 7, we subtract 7. So we subtract 7 from both sides, and that's going to leave us with x equaling negative 3. And there's our answer for that. And on to page 2. Alright, so we're closing in on the end here. So we got 4 questions left. Now, we're doing the same thing that we were doing on number 20, and that's we have to write the equation and then solve it. So it says if 16 is added to a number, so we know what that looks like. That's going to be 16 plus n, okay? The sum is 18, so that means that that's going to be equals 18. Now, we know how to get rid of a positive 16. We're going to subtract 16 from both sides, and that's going to leave us with n equaling 2. And that's the way that rolls. Alright? Now, a number subtracted by 13 is 8. So, a number, that's x, subtracted by 13, so subtracted by 13 is equal to 8. Now we're going to add 13 to both sides, and that's going to be x equals, let's see, 13 plus 8 is 21. And 21 minus 13 is in fact 8, and we can check it. So it's not that hard. Now 22 is added to a number, so that's going to be 22 plus x, and the total is 32. So we subtract 22 from both sides, and that's going to leave us with x equals 10. And now we have an answer. Alright. Last question. So it says, over 20 years, the population of a town decreased by 375 people to a population of 850. To find the variable, write and solve an equation to find the original population. Okay, if your solution, and determine if your solution is reasonable. So, let's see. I'm going to say P equals original population okay, so P is our original population, okay, and it says that the population of a town decreased by 375 people. We don't care how many years it took, it decreased by 375 people. So P minus 375, okay, and it decreased to a population of 850. Alright, now in order to solve this equation, we have to add 375 to both sides, okay, and then that's going to leave us, it's going to be P equals 5, 12, carry the 1, 11, 12. 1225, 1,225 people. Alright, originally. Now, in order to check that, all you'd have to do is do 1225 minus 375, and you would find that that does equal 850. And is that reasonable? Yes, it is quite reasonable to have a town that originally had a population of 1225 and for it to decrease over that long of a period of time. So, there you have it.